Thank you so much for joining. This is Prayer Talk, the show that talks and discusses about issues and concerns within our community and our society, and also pray about it. But like I said before, because charity begins at home. We are focusing on our sweet home, Africa, and all her people. Before we move on to we gotta get organized. We gotta get ourselves together. Our mental re-education needs to be in place before we can be able to really know how to tackle the society out there. So, but thank you so much for joining us if you're joining us for the first time. We're gonna move on to the next question. Picking back to all what you guys have said, would you then say that the disunity, is it unique only to Africans? Is it because we are the last colonized continent? What would you say? And then how do we, and I know you get some answer that led to this earlier, but what is the real way for us to really get the unity? Is the disunity unique to us Africans? You could go, Mayamba, if you want to go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the things you have to quickly notice about Africa is we are one of the only continents with drawn lines.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful of that.
I know.
We're the only continent where you actually find straight lines on the borders. Almost all of Europe was divided by geographic borders, rivers, mountains, and so forth. And you also find singular tribes. I think that's one thing you have to understand. There's cultural homogeneity in Europe. Almost every European country has got one tribe. And like Germany has Germans, French has French people. Like yes. There's literally one group of people that dominate. And Africa is the place where you find multiculturalism. So yes. You are finding an adjustment happening amongst people who yes. lived in their tribes, and one day just a line was drawn and they told, right, you're all one group of people, and that's it. We went from being our tribe nation to just being a nation designed by somebody else. Now, the systems they put in place were able to help them when they were colonizing and managing us. But when we took it, now we're kind of struggling for those positions. So is it something that is specific to Africans? Not specifically. And I'll turn you back to an old book that was written by a gentleman named George Fitzhugh in America. It's called The Sociology of the South. And he said, division is designed to turn blacks against whites and also some whites against whites. Because what you want is you want to control everyone. And it was about trying to control society as a whole. And you're now finding that, and if you're careful, you know what you'll notice, the things they used on us, the sociology of the South, sorry, not the South, the South, that's in the South of America. But one thing that you'll notice is that the things that were used on us as Africans, that whole divide and rule, I'm starting to see it in America. I'm starting to see it in Europe. It's actually the things you're seeing in the Brexit conversations, the fights that are happening, the whole identity wars, the cultural wars, a lot of things you're seeing. As an African, I'm thinking this identity politics was here. So meaning they were testing it out with us, and now it's going worldwide because there's never been so much chaos in the world. About so many groups of people and so many groups. So is it unique to us? No, because I would say this, division is designed. Because somebody benefits from it. Division is usually designed. And so now it's just something that's now spreading like a horrendous virus that nobody seems to want to contain.
The divisions you're talking about are called in political science color revolutions. And I think that's really valuable to understand once again, because we really have to break down in our mind that it's not a black-white thing, but it's actually something that they use to, get different castes and classes together again. It's the elite pitting people together underneath them, and they assign you with this and they assign you with that, and they generalize, and then they use the media as false prophets to fill you with hate. I want to say, Manuba, when you were talking about the fact that they tested it on Africans, I think one of the reasons is with that, I listened to somebody named Bevelyn Beatty, and she talked about sort of the history of Black people in the Bible. And one of the things she saw is that Africans are the seers. They are the seers of of the body of Christ. She talked about like one of the first Black people mentioned in the Bible was somebody that Moses asked them to lead him somewhere in the Bible. I think this is when he was in the wilderness with his father-in-law or something like that. But anyway, when you see the law of when you see something first mentioned in the Bible, it can tell you things, you know. And I think that that's the reason that Black people are specifically targeted. We are specifically targeted here in America, you know, with everything. And I think that just continues to be the case, even the way that they are using, you know, the civil rights movement from the 60s, you know, to piggyback and to bring in the same civil rights laws to use for transgender. That's not what that was meant for. Whatever your feeling is on transgenderism, that's not what that was meant for, right? And so it's, but they use things with us, and then we become the place where they extend onto whatever their agendas are. So it is important for us to understand our power and to understand our giftings, because when we know that, we can use them for God. I want to say that I do think a very important primary solution is for us to come together, you know, as we're talking in a community way. I mean, when I talk as a life coach, I talk about ways to love yourself, right? And the personal power that brings you in your own life. But we're going to talk as a community. I want to speak about us loving ourselves and learning from ourselves. And it was in this prayer talk in January that my eyes were really open to the power and possibilities of cross travel, of us hosting one another in our homes. I think for us Black Americans to go to Africa, and even having exchanges where Africans come here to America, I think it will open our eyes to our opportunities, and it will open the eyes of Africans to their opportunities as we share with one another. Because it has literally just been since January, me meeting Bibi. Maybe I met Munyumba two weeks prior, and right after that I met this young man in Liberia. And my life has opened up in this supernatural way. I mean, 3 people in a few months, you know what I mean? Just really changing my life and really helping me in this work of bridge building that I believe that God has called me to in a number of different arenas. And so I can only imagine, with a concerted effort, with some type of programming, for us to actually do some exchange programs will be just a phenomenal thing. I do believe that is what a great next step is.
Awesome. Sorry, just one thing. Sorry, I just forgot to add, and I'll try and be brief on this.
That's all right.
One thing you need to understand is that those who seek, and I really focus on those who seek to divide you, because in order to fight your battle, you need to know your enemy. Sun Tzu said that you actually have to know your enemy and know yourself in order to win a battle. Because if you're clueless about who's fighting you, then you're going to lose every single time, because they're always going to be 10 steps ahead of you. Those who are fighting you are not partisan. I can tell you this right now. You can align with whatever political party you want, and this happens in every country. That's what I mean, is that those who are at the top generally are aligned to no party. They are rich no matter what party. They are powerful no matter what party, because they've mastered the art of sitting right in the middle and getting both people to pander to them. So that's the one thing you need to understand, is that those who are the most powerful are usually the least partisan. And it's going to take that kind of removal away to actually get away from being partisan in any way, or being pulled to any single political movement, and to say, hold on, we're going to stick to principles. What principles are we going to govern ourselves by? And the other thing I wanted to, when I talked also about God's mandate over you, when God made us as people, he made us abundant. We are abundantly productive. We are capable of building rockets that can go to the moon. We are capable of going anywhere. We are capable of moving heaven and earth. We can do anything because of our creative spirit made by our Creator.
Yes.
If we think like that, you are abundant. Everything in you is abundant. Yes. You are not moved. And this is why you find, if you go back to the book of Genesis, Isaac, when he had the water disputes, where he was opening wells in foreign land, you found that they used to fight him. But whenever they came to him and they said, we want to take the water, Isaac believed he was blessed, he was abundant. So he'd say, take the water, I'll go somewhere else and strike a well. He was non-confrontational because he knew that he could manifest water from anywhere. And if we believe in ourselves by that way, when we believe our vision and our mission of God, we start to tap into a well of abundance where fighting with people is no use. I don't have to fight with you for limited resources because everything is coming from within, that God has put the spirit where I can create, I can do anything. Now, the problem is when you don't have that belief in yourself, you are totally limited by everything around you. You say, okay, I can only grow according to the resources around me. And then you start fighting with people over those resources. And that's where you start to get divided over things. So the best way to get people away from this, we need to go down to our people, our young people, and get everyone back to purpose-driven living. There's even a formula to this, finding each person's purpose. What is your purpose on earth? How do we get you to manifest your purpose? The Japanese have a thing called ikigai, where you find your purpose. It's something you love, something you are good at, something that serves the world, and something that compensates you. How do we get you to live that purpose? Believe me, if you do that, nothing, no politician is going to control you, no elite is going to control you, and you are not limited, you're not fighting with each other. So I think that's the core solution, and the way to fight this, to combat this, is we need to go back to, and this is where church was so strong, helping people find their purpose in God. And so that God could help them, so that God could say, look, if you were brought on this earth to do civil engineering and help all the sewage ways, well, I'm going to bless your work of doing sewage ways. And you're going to find yourself elevated in any way, whether it's media, whether it's manufacturing, whatever it is, all work is God's work. And when you realize that you're doing God's work every day and you are elevated through that creative capacity, then we don't fight anymore. We create along each other.
That is exactly the truth.
If I can interject, I just been wanting to speak for some time now.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was just because I wanted the speakers to finish up. Give me 1 second, Miss Amara. Let me check back to Dr. Tade or let's see, Felicity. You spoke. Dr. Tade, did you have anything, or Dr. Gorham to add to the thing before? Because we're about to go into the session where we bring in our attendees to be part of our show.
Okay. I want to speak on the issue of division from the perspective of someone who is born and raised in the Caribbean, but have African roots, okay? So we are divided by mistrust, we are divided by misunderstanding, we are divided by lack of knowledge. Because one of the things that they use to hold us in captivity and in darkness and to breed division is to hold us back from the true source of knowledge, the true source of knowledge of our existence and of who we are. We are divided by ethnic heritage, we are divided by religion, we are divided by culture, we are divided by politics, we are divided by socioeconomic status, we are divided by philosophy. Because a lot of what we are taught by our colonizers. They have brainwashed us into believing what they want us to believe. African Americans, in my own experience, I realize a lot of African Americans have a big misunderstanding of Africans. And a lot of Africans have a big misunderstanding of African Americans. And as Felicity mentioned about the issue where we were told that Africans are told that we sold the African Americans into slavery, and that is in their heads. Okay, we are divided. One of the misunderstandings is when growing up in the Caribbean, I realized that two things among African Americans: we are the least number of Blacks to get married, and we're the least number of Blacks in the Caribbean to get married. So among the global Black population, most Blacks that have stable marriages are those from the continent of Africa, those who are living in the continent, and those who voluntarily move into the diaspora. Because there is a stronger sense of culture, there's a stronger connection by language, there's a stronger connection of one's existence. And that when Europe underdeveloped Africa, These are some of the values that were taken away from us, where we are not whole like those from the continent. So we are not necessarily the same people. So you can't say African Americans and Africans are the same. One set speaks the language of their cultural heritage. They are connected with home. They believe in investing in the homeland. They are driven by culture in the homeland. One is totally cut off. We were used to reproduce and create more slaves. To breed, we were introduced to a polygamous, promiscuous lifestyle. And you find that, check the statistics, go to any event. You will not find a lot of African Caribbean couples in any Caribbean church or organization here in the US or in Europe. You will not find a lot of couples in high numbers as with African Americans, because even the covenant of marriage and certain values, maintaining a home, owning a home, and all these principles, they have been taken away. We have been a damaged people through slavery. And these are some of the factors that divide us, because one is more resilient, one is more economically savvy, one has developed a greater level of survival instincts, while the others are struggling. And these are some of the things we need to understand as we talk about uniting and building alliances among us. And so to build alliances among us, it will help us to overcome some of the mistrust, the misunderstandings, and it will give us a common platform to build our common purpose. And that is what Marcus Messiah Garvey was trying to do in the Negro Improvement Society, is to unite us among a common purpose, to overcome suffering, to build a greater sense of solidarity, to overcome some of the civil issues that we have. And this is just something I want to add to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely piggyback back to what Mutombo is saying. We must, to really, really help one another or to solve any of our issues, we not only must know ourselves, but we need to also get to know the other people, our brothers and sisters, no matter, regardless of where they are. So that's a great point. Thank you so much for that. Let me go back to Dr. Akere. Would you have anything to comment on this particular area of
Yeah, just briefly. So your question, the question you asked was that this division, is it unique to just us?
Just Africans, you know?
And I said, no, it's not. But it has done the most damage.
Yes.
I think amongst Black people all over the world. Just like my brother that spoke just now, Brother DK said, you know, we need to learn each other's history. We need to learn the African Americans or Africans all over the world need to know each other's history. How did the Africans in the Caribbean, how did they get to the Caribbean? How did the Africans in, in the United States get here? How the history of Africa, the Oyo Empire, the Ghanaian Empire, the Songhai Empire. We had empires. You need to know, you need to know your roots. You need to know your history, where you are from, and where your other brothers and sisters are from. There's also the sense of loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. We need to love ourselves, but then how do you not love your neighbor when you really do not love yourself? There has to be self-love. And one thing that I hope we would address in here is also that division amongst us, amongst Black people, where we look down on each other. So an African would look down on an African American or someone from the Caribbean or vice versa. And we look at, oh, this person has an accent, or just like my brother was trying to describe the reasons why we have some of these disparities. We need to understand it. We need to value each other and not look down on each other. And we need to kind of try to come together, help one another and say, hey, so I should not have a problem marrying a Black person from the Caribbean or an African American, just understanding that we all have unique experiences. So it's very important that we understand who we are. Self-love is important, first of all. You need to love yourself. And loving yourself is not, like I said, not looking down on the other person. We have a problem also amongst Black people where someone who is dark skinned like me and someone who is lighter skinned even looks down on each other. So for me, That's a huge problem where, you know, a lighter skin, but the white man sees every one of us as black, and you're thinking you're better than me because those are the experiences, personal experiences that I have had. I mean, Bibiana, I'm sure you probably have too, because, you know, we're beautiful chocolate women.
Beautiful, dark, beautiful. I wish I'm darker like you, you know?
But then people tend to try to use that against you. And I think that's a problem where the self-love, when you don't love yourself, how are you going to love your sister or your brother who is, you know, and you look down on a person. And I just want to say this quickly. I had a mother in my office. She brought two of her sons. One was very dark skinned, one was very light skinned. And she was telling me, like, you know, the darker skinned boy was a little bit not very well behaved. And she said, well, I've told him that he's going to have a harder life. And I said, why would he have a harder life? Well, because his skin is so dark. And that really, you know, that really bothered me, that a mother of two sons would say that to her own child.
Dividing them already
because one is lighter, one is darker. And most people don't even see that. They just see us as black people. And we're still in the midst of your lighter skin, your darker skin.
It's the miseducation.
We just need to value one another and have self-love.
I have just one question to all. I know that this may be dominant, but I have one question to all, which some may even understand the other cultures. One of the things that united China as a country, I know they're mostly one tribe, 80% of their country is one tribe. And yes, their government has been tough on them in terms of human rights. But one of the things that united them was the government gave them a vision. As a people, they were actually given a vision. And do you know that the Chinese also struggled with the whole self-identity thing? They used to be slaves to the Japanese. They were treated as underlings. They were treated as lowlings. And the first president actually gave them a book and said, this is who you are as people. Forget what you've been taught. So even that re-education. But one of the things I really want to throw out there is, do we have a common vision of what a Black community should look like? Because without that vision, we love ourselves and everything, but let me tell you one thing that can drive a group of people towards progress faster than anything is a common vision. So it's something I just wanted to throw out there, as we should also think about a common African vision, similar to, I know it's jokes and all, but similar to what Black Panther gave us as a movie.
Exactly.
It gave us this vision of elevation.
But you know what? That's why it's we Christians that are here on this Zoom and not the Wakandians. Because that was inspirational, but it's not enough to drive your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we as Black Christians, African Christians, have an opportunity to have that common vision. So I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great opportunity. And to still piggyback to it, I mean, it'll take, I believe the movie gave us an insight of what it could be. Maybe you could call it utopian, but I think it really falls all back to each and every one of us taking that vision, believing it, and working towards it. And like we discussed back in, I believe in January when we were talking about this heavily, you know, we need to also start doing our own, like Muyomba said, you know, what is your vision? What is your purpose-driven life? Is it whatever you want to do it in the name of God, but also in the name of trying to help your brother and sister? What can we do? This is a platform you can use to start educating, because there's a lot of re-education that we need to literally do first before anything can be done. And that's part of the reason why we are here today at Prayer Talk. This is my little own way of contributing. So I thank you guys for supporting and being part of it. And it's really a wonderful opportunity.